is the Strategy and Communication Services Committee. And on this committee is myself, Kevin O'Toole, Chris Thiessen, Wendy Bosch, and Jackie Clayton. Just to give everybody out there a heads up, Jackie Clayton is phoning in online, and Chris Thiessen had to step out to another meeting. But myself and Wendy Bosch are here operating the council chambers. So with that, we'll start off. We have the call to order, and we have no delegations. We have 3 reports that are coming up. And item 3.1, the service area update. Chief McCracken, can you take over?
Thank you, Chair O'Toole. For the service area update today, I'll start with executive services and strategy. We've held productive conversations with the Grande Prairie Regional Hospital Health Foundation on collaborating on healthcare professionals appreciation events. And also the provincial budget release date has been confirmed for February 29th. The city's annual and well-attended Evening with Grande Prairie event in Edmonton. We're working on the details of that right now, so it will be the evening of February 29th, and lots of planning underway. At this event, we have a great opportunity to interact with MLAs and ministers on both sides of the aisle, as well as industry and community leaders. For the City Clerk's Office, quite excited to be hosting a Northwest Polytechnic Practicum student in the Legislative Services Department starting the end of this month. It's a great opportunity to offer direct learning for students and value for our organization. Corporate communications, seasonal communications supporting snow clearing kicked off January 9th with the announcement concerning the parking bans on permanent snow routes. This was followed by a January 20th announcement concerning snow clearing kicking off in residential routes. Intergovernmental affairs. City attended the inaugural Mid-Size Mayors Caucus Summit to collaborate and learn from the fellow mid-sized cities. And we assisted GP Local Immigration Partnership in their advocacy efforts to have biometric scanning available in Grande Prairie. We're also evaluating the impacts of the local government funding framework formula that was released late last year. In human resources, one of our EDI committee members has completed the Rick Hansen course, allowing the city to complete assessment on city facilities, making improvements, ultimately having them certified by the Rick Hansen Association for accessibility. And in health and safety, the Health and Safety HR department is working with Banetts to complete a live emergency response drill this quarter. This initiative will be explored at other city facilities over the next year. In corporate marketing, the brand refresh rollout is being planned for later in February, and sponsorship was secured for Ovintiv as a partner for a new free community event happening in March at the East Links Center. And one last update in regards to Access GP, in cooperation with the Transportation Services Access GP, successfully managed and addressed 46 inquiries and/or requests regarding ice control in the city, ensuring effective and timely responses to community concerns. And on behalf of Transit Services, Access GP happily garnered positive feedback around the free youth transit program, reflecting widespread appreciation and satisfaction with the initiative. And with that, I can take any questions.
Well, you've been busy, and the team's been busy.
The team's been busy.
There you go. I've got one question from Councillor
Wendy
Bosch.
Sure. Thank you for the report. My question is in the text service options that we have. Maybe you said it and I didn't hear it, but I am hoping that people respond to this service, getting the texts on what's happening in your area or recreation or the gamut of choices that you can have. I encourage everyone to get on that text service. Can you tell me what the numbers are at this point?
Sure. Thank you. Through the chair, currently we have 248 residents who are signed up for the text messages, and we've sent over 5,000 text messages out to date with, items such as the snow clearing. It is a great service, and absolutely having residents sign up for that service, I think, will be a great bonus for them.
Okay, I'll switch from encourage to implore that people get on this service. It is advantageous to you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Councillor Blackmore.
Thank you, Councillor O'Toole. Just to follow up with that question, previous to the text messaging service, there was an email service, which a lot of people have signed up for, and don't anticipate that they need both. So are we moving away from the email notification altogether, or will people who are signed up for email notifications continue to receive them?
Thank you, through the chair. There is no intent to move away from the email notification. Adding the text messaging notification is just another opportunity to reach more of our residents with whatever format that they're most interested in obtaining information from. So all email notifications will remain as is.
Thank you, Chief McEachern.
And I see no one else in the queue, so we'll get off that topic.
Sorry, Councillor O'Toole, I'm in the queue.
Sorry, there you go. Go ahead, Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair O'Toole. Just to follow up on Councillor Blackmore's question there, my understanding with the text messaging format, there would be more responsive, immediate types of messaging as well that may not get distributed through emails. Is that correct, or did I misunderstand?
Thank you, through the chair. Yes, Mayor, you are correct. There is the ability to be more responsive with the text messages if there are alert type situations that occur. And with the text messages, we are also looking at other avenues. Residents can sign up for different text message streams that they're interested in. So there is the ability with the text messaging to be more focused on just the information that individuals are interested in receiving.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Thank you for that report. We'll go to item 3.2, the 2023 incoming grant report. Ms. McEachern.
Thank you, Chair. So this item is an information report on active grants that we have pursued throughout the year, as well as those that we have been successful with, and outstanding ones, as well as grants for 2024. So with that, I will pass it over to Director Tarrant, who will provide details on this.
Thank you, and through the chair, in early 2023, the city created a new position, a grant coordinator. With that grant coordinator, we were able to improve our processes in terms of grant coordination, and one of the outcomes of that has been that we're able to have a robust database that looks at all the grants that the city applies for through every department and quantify those into one central location and to better track the results of our grant writing efforts over time, and to learn from unsuccessful grant applications and to hopefully improve our success rate going forward, as well as allows us to concentrate and do regular scans of grants that are out there. And we've been able to, with the position, able to really identify a number of grants that might not have been in the purview of certain departments, but have someone's eye on it and being able to flag those to the departments. So with that, you'll see that in 2023, we had 57 competitive grant applications that were submitted. Just a note, when I refer to competitive grant applications, those are grants that have a limited funding source that we are in competition with others that apply for it, whereas we have some that are non-competitive that as long as we meet certain conditions, we receive automatically, typically through the provincial and federal governments. So of those 57 grants, 28 of them were successful. Of the competitive ones, about $3.5 million that were received in grants. We did have 7 grant applications that were unsuccessful, about $400,000 there that we did not receive. And there are still 22 applications outstanding. Most of those we do expect to hear back in Q1 here. A lot of grants are tied to the fiscal year of the province or the feds, which in a lot of, or other organizations, which in a lot of cases is at the end of Q1. And so we do anticipate a number of funding announcements, whether positive or negative. We expect to hear back within the next month or two. With that, I will turn it over.
All right. I have Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Chair. My question to you is, well, first of all, having a grant writer is an enormous value. That is not an easy task. Anybody who's written a grant knows that they're very difficult and persnickety to wording. So in the ones that we did not receive, were those grants applied for in addition to the project funds, or were you counting on those funds to move along any of these projects? So, for instance, the kitchen upgrade at the coordinated care campus, is that moving forward? Is there funds for that, or was that up in addition to the project? Same with the Fire Smart principles.
Through the chair, I'll just speak generally that most of these were in addition to, they were supplemental, and the project wasn't contingent on them. The specific ones you noted, maybe I'll look around in the room to see if there's anybody else that can speak to those specific initiatives.
Even the hockey one is too. I just want to make sure if we're having the National Aboriginal Hockey Championships and the $45,000 that we didn't receive through the grant, is there funding in place to make sure that that still moves forward?
Yeah, through the chair, the answer is yes. We did secure some money through the budget process. So yes, that is that funding requirement has been secured.
Okay, thank you. Just checking.
All right. Mayor Clayton, did you have any comments or questions? Okay. I guess not. Okay. You had anything else to add? Well, thank you very much for that report. That information is good to know. And we'll just go to business now.
I move that committee receive this report for information.
All right.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
Thank you. All right, that passes 3-0. All right, we'll move down to the alternate standing committee, and that is item 3.3. Ms. McCracken, could you lead us through this again?
Thank you, Chair. So for this item, previous committee had directed administration to bring back a report with an alternate committee schedule. So looking at a jurisdictional scan of what other similar Alberta mid-sized cities were doing and operating with either the standing committee structure or operating as a council committee of the whole structure. So this is a report that we're bringing back today. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Hanson, who's our Director of Legislative Services.
Thank you. Through the chair, and as Chief McEachern has noted, this was a request from committee to have a look at alternate standing committees. And so in your report, it's fairly fulsome, and you have information that was provided, basically looked at what's the historical background for committee structures and when they've changed and what they've looked at. And so as you can see on the first page, it identifies that. Going through it, in looking at the analysis part of it. There was a fairly extensive comparative review that was done with like-sized, mid-sized cities, and also some of the larger cities as well. And so in the report, there are a couple tables that have been provided that identify what type of committees they have. As you can see, there are a variety depending on what municipality and what the individual needs are. Likewise to the City of Grande Prairie, where you have individual needs that may be aligned differently than others. In here, there's also information that was provided to give a sense as to what are some of the advantages, some of the disadvantages, some neutral, depending on what structure you're interested in, and then also wanted to provide some information on leadership function and what that might look like depending on the existing structure or looking at something else. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. As I mentioned, the report has a lot of information and detail in there to compare to other municipalities across the province.
Okay. I've got two people in the queue. I got Gladys and Councillor Blackmore and Councillor O'Connor.
I mean, I get to go first?
Yes.
My understanding is from the recommendation from on your report that if we accept this for information, we are in fact not making any changes and accepting the status quo of our current process.
Through the chair to Councillor Blackmore, yes, that is correct.
I've talked several times over the last 2 and a little bit years that I feel because we are generally all in the room when we do all of the standing committees, it is misleading in a way that makes it look like we are reaching consensus before we reach the council meeting. And that's always been a concern for me. And so I feel it would be my preference probably to move to standing committee of the whole. The reason for that is at least it creates the right messaging to the public, to our residents, and to other levels of government about what we really do in this room on Tuesday mornings. There's some things I'm not crazy about, like I like the fact that we all rotate through the chairs and have that additional leadership role. And I guess that could probably be accommodated in Council Committee of the Whole, should that be desired. I'm not on this committee, so once again, I'm in the position where I have an opinion on a subject of which I really don't get much input on. And it would make me happier if the motion coming out of this discussion would direct this to a process where we can have a more fulsome discussion, either Council Committee of the Whole or council itself. But I would be throwing myself on the mercy of the committee members to make that happen. So therefore, I'm throwing myself on the mercy of the committee members.
Okay, I have Councillor O'Connor and Councillor Palat.
Yes, I really appreciate Councillor Blackmore's response, and I echo her comments. I don't have standing on this committee. However, I think it would be serving the public a lot better if we had one standing committee and we rotate the chairs out when you're deputy mayor. And I think that would be Anyway, I really think if we'd have more debate, and then when we pass something on for council for final ratification, I think this would be a better process.
Just gonna stop things here. I got Mayor Clayton, if you would like to go ahead.
Thanks, Chair O'Toole. As with other chairs, I think it's important to recognize who's committee members and who's not. My feeling on this is that I appreciate the fact that councillors choose to attend every standing committee. However, we've been very clear from the beginning that there's no expectation for you to attend committees that you're not part of. As people who aren't at the table today because they're not on the committee, you can make that choice. My fear with a council committee of the whole is already our standing committees are significantly a lot of time and a big commitment for people that are on the committees, and you choose to come and go or sit through them all. A council committee of the whole format, in my opinion, will make these standing committees even longer because the chair now can't prioritize who's in the queue because everybody gets a say on the items that are on the agenda. If council wants to go to that process, that's a conversation that obviously we can vote on. Personally, my opinion would to not be going to that process. And as Councillor Blackmore mentioned, if we do go to that process, there is an opportunity, whether it's the deputy mayor or rotations through committee chairs, that we can schedule that accordingly. But my preference is to keep status quo and just encourage the chairs to be conscious of who's on the committee. Those people have priority in the queue and the conversation. So my preference would be to take the recommendation from administration that we receive this report for information. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. Up next is Councillor Michael Connor. Okay, Councillor Palat.
Thanks, Chair O'Toole. I do agree with some of the things that Mayor Clayton did, but I'm probably more on side of what Councillor Blackmore is. Even today, we've rolled through 4 committees. We've had to pause 3 or 4 minutes for IT to get reset up. I appreciate that we might seem like streamlined in some ways. Most committee meetings with this format we're sitting here in council chambers for probably 15 minutes while we're just setting up new IT for the next committee to talk. Also think with this group from this council, none of us are scared to talk. And so although we might have a committee member go first in the queue, I don't know if I've been at any council or any of these meetings where other committee members aren't speaking. I've also had the unfortunate opportunity of not being on a committee. When it gets to council, I'm being told I should have asked questions at committee. And so there's a really weird line of if I'm not on a committee, I'm supposed to not speak at a committee, but if it gets to council and it was already discussed at committee and you're asking questions again. So I think how we're doing it right now is confusing, to be honest. I think the public would be easier just to know we're a standing committee of the whole every time. I think it's incumbent upon all the councillors who most of the time are participating in all these meetings anyways. So my preference would be that we went to a council committee of the whole for these formats. And I agree with Councillor Blackmore. I'd like this to be a council conversation, not just a committee conversation today as well. I think this is bigger than that. But I think if anything, we're probably going to make better decisions. And I don't think we're going to take more time by switching it if we're being cognizant of the fact that we're usually spending 10 or 15 minutes minimum almost every week just waiting for IT to set up. And that's not a knock on IT, we have to do that. But now even going back and looking, you're looking at 5 different committee meetings instead of 1. So I'm in support of us switching to a council committee of the whole.
Councillor Bosch.
Thank you. I'd like to make the motion that we move the committee review process to either a council committee of the whole discussion or a council discussion. I think let's be fair with all council members and let them have their say on this particular matter. My short time here, I only know this process. I don't know the full CCW process throughout the year. But I think everybody has an opportunity to give their opinion, and we'll finally pick something. Like Councillor Palat said, I don't think anybody's scared to speak on this council. But if there are misses because somebody either wasn't here or felt like their opinions weren't consulted in regards to a subject matter, then maybe it needs to change. I do see that the larger centers all have committee structures, particularly in this scan, but I don't think it's a bad thing to have a discussion once and for all. We've had several discussions, between all of us, which is the better way, but let's just get this figured out as a whole.
Make a motion. Okay. Yeah, no, you go ahead. Yeah, I'm just thinking here. I'm going to say some stuff after the motion. So we'll go ahead and call for the vote. Oh, sorry, I misvoted.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
That carries. Just as somebody that's been here a little while, and maybe Councillor Blackmore is familiar with this process, where we would have two committees meet in the morning on a particular day, and that afternoon you also had two committees, and that worked out really well. Traditionally, the meetings were short and sweet and got to the point, and if you were on the committee, then you attended, and if they weren't, you didn't attend. And so if you didn't know, if you had something that you wanted to listen about and hear a speaker talk about the subject matter, you were still invited to come, but it wasn't like you weren't supposed to go to these meetings. It was just for business sake. These are the four people that are going to be making the decisions, and you had it on one day and it worked out well. Today we had our meetings and it started at 9 and here it is almost 1:30. So that drags out things quite a bit. And if you're concerned about being on a different meeting in the morning compared to the different afternoon, or you can't make it, administration can make that happen so you can be on that day. So I voted in favor to bring it to council so we can discuss it further, but I really did prefer the old method where you had your time to speak and you weren't rushed, because we can all say that we've been at meetings where we were rushed to get the meeting done and we wanted to say something, but it wasn't enough time left in the day. So with that, that's all I've got to say on that matter. I won't be supporting this when it comes to council, to go to a council of the whole. Thank you. And nobody else has got anything to say at this time. We had no correspondence, no other business. We have one policy and bylaw review, and that's under corporate sponsorship. You gonna lead this into us?
Thank you, Chair.
Ms. McCracken has really been working hard today, and all of the last couple of weeks for sure.
So for this last item, at a previous committee meeting, a motion was passed that committee direct administration to bring back a proposal to reallocate funds from existing funding streams to address identified gaps and opportunities in the current grant and sponsorship model. And so I am going to pass it over to Director Tarrant again, who is going to lead us through this.
Thank you. Through the chair, and I have Director Biebendorf here with me this morning, who can speak to a lot more of some of the history on some of the programs and the excellent resource here. So we'll just start where this all started, was with a review of the corporate sponsorship fund. We were looking at a number of the items within the current policy were not being adhered to or did not match the current reality. So we underwent a review of that particular fund. In doing that, we thought there was an opportunity to review all of the different sponsorship requests that the city receives, and looking at it holistically and seeing if there's a better process and a better alignment with current practices and the current requests that are coming from the community. With that, we started looking, one of the gaps that we identified was that there wasn't as many opportunities to align our sponsorship funding with council's strategic priorities. So if there was key organizations or key events in town that we felt that fit within council's priorities and the city's vision, and we wanted to sponsor, there was limited opportunities to do that. Most of the time, we had to wait for the organizations to come to us, apply through a grant program. So we thought there was an opportunity to change that and to make funding available for some of those sponsorship opportunities. The other thing that we looked at was the large-scale tourism funding. So when the large-scale tourism fund was first created, within the policy, it talks about one of the intents is to really get these events off the ground, and that preference for the funding would be given to organizations within the first 5 years. A number of years on, we are, there's been some organizations that still receive funding, even though they're over that 5-year mark. And so we're looking at, is there a way that we can still have an opportunity for council to sponsor those organizations that, if it's still in alignment with what they want to see, but do it outside of the large-scale tourism funding, which does indicate a preference for startups and for funding over the first 5 years. The recommendation here is that we create a larger corporate sponsorship fund that would take some of the existing dollars and put it into council's public relations budget, and would give council and administration more flexibility to fund some of these requests that come in. It also gives an opportunity to tailor the sponsorships more specifically to some of the events that are out there. For example, if you had large music festival A, who is has a strong youth focus, you could look at sponsorship opportunities that provide free youth passes or whatnot. Whereas large music festival B may have another avenue, and there might be a more strategic alignment to sponsor something else. And so we're looking at having much more flexibility in terms of how those sponsorships occur. Now, there are some smaller sponsorships that were received through the current sponsorship fund, which only had a maximum $2,000 allowance. And those ones would still be included. Things like the Northern Spirit Light Show that we fund every year, those would still likely fall within the new corporate sponsorship program. So there wouldn't be any risk to sponsoring some of those smaller ones as well. Something that we've also identified in the sponsorship policy here is that we would allocate a portion of the funds to swag and promotional items, so that council is able to provide, at different events, we can provide different swag and marketing items to individuals and organizations. Also, in that. The suggestion is that there would be gift baskets made available. We would standardize a certain value for gift baskets, and in the policy was proposed that every councillor each year would have the ability to gift 2 of those gift baskets to the organization of their choosing. A couple other notes from what's proposed in the new corporate sponsorship policy is that that all sponsorships 5,000 or more would come back to council for approval, and we're proposing a cap of 40,000 for total sponsorship, just to ensure that the fund's not expended too early. With that, the proposal is that for some of those remaining sponsorship opportunities, that they would be incorporated within the community microgrant program. This would be a new program that would fund organizations or individuals up to $1,500. A lot of the funding from the current corporate sponsorship fund was for smaller walks or different, very small scale events, and the requests are $500 or $1,000, and so a lot of those would still be funded under this microgrant program. We're also suggesting, though, that we combine, there's a couple of arts and culture grants. There's the individual projects and scholarship funds, as well as the major project funding. A couple of those have been undersubscribed, and we feel that this would be better alignment to include them all within one microgrant program that's a little bit more broad, but that would fund a number of the arts development and smaller scale events, and that could be applied for each year. The microgrant program would also obviously not have the requirement to be a nonprofit, so individuals can apply for that if they're doing a small community event or a neighborhood association event. And it also has lesser reporting requirements than we would expect of the larger sponsorship funds. With that, I will make note that all the what's being proposed here fits within the existing budget envelope. There's no new funds being expended. It's just shifting some of the funds around. And with that, the proposal is that with a corporate sponsorship fund, that we take $100,000 from the large-scale tourism budget, $5,000 from the corporate sponsorship fund, and combine it with Council's public relations budget currently, so that the new fund would be $130,000. And the recommendation for the microgrant program is that we take $10,000 from the corporate sponsorship fund and $10,000 from those other arts and developments, and there would be an annual budget there of $20,000. The last recommendation that was made when we were before Council last year was that we would develop a centralized intake portal. So once we have direction on these funds, that'll be our next step, is to design a portal that citizens will be able to go to and have one central place so they don't have to navigate all the different sponsorship opportunities. They can put in one request, and for us on the back end, we can identify which location would be best or which grant program would be best suited to have provide those funds if it meets the guidelines. So with that, there's a number of recommendations for these proposals. So one is that they approve the new corporate sponsorship policy. The second one is rescind the previous corporate sponsorship policy. We also thought at this time we had this very old policy on the books. It was a souvenirs policy that is not in alignment with current practices by any means, and so rescind that as well. The next recommendation is, as mentioned, consolidating those arts and developments grants into the one community grant program. And then the last one is all the transfers from the funds to make the proposal happen. With that, I will turn it over to the chair.
Okay, I see the mayor's in queue. Mayor Clayton, do you have anything?
Yeah, sorry, Councillor O'Connor, or O'Toole rather. I had a question and then a comment. It notes in the policy that, just looking, item 2.4, that minimize and or eliminate municipal contributions in the form of gifts in kind, services, wherever possible. I'm wondering if you can expand on that. There are significant events and organizations that we give significant gift in kind. And I don't know if the thought was, with the removal of those, that additional dollars would be paid, so the city in turn donated money and the organization paid for the service. I'm wondering if somebody can expand on that for me.
Through the chair, a lot of this, I believe, was from a holdover from the old policy, because in the past there was a lot of requests that came in for things like equipment loans, or having staff attend events, or having different in-kind services provided. And in a lot of those instances, it felt that it was easier, more efficient for the city just to provide a cash donation rather than coordinating different services or different equipment to be provided to the groups. the expectation is there still is going to be gift in kind requests, specifically through facility rentals, and we have a policy that does govern that. That's outside of corporate sponsorship, so those are a significant gift in kind. The other gift in kind is through swag and marketing items, and expect those to continue.
Yeah, I guess my concern is with us not adding more money overall. If our goal is to reduce or eliminate gift in kind, I don't think that's possible without adding more money, because if you're going to take away a gift in kind of a facility rental, now the facility rental is expected to be paid unless the organization that's asking for it is going to try to have to raise more money, or they're coming to us for the cash to pay for it, and I don't see an increase in the dollars. So I think that gift in kind is significant and important to many organizations. I'm not at all advocating for more of it. I think that we do need to be fairly recognized in the significant gift in kind that we give out. I just worry about that phrase of elimination of it because we're not adding more money to the fund. So just something to be conscious of. If you would allow, Councillor O'Toole, I did have two other things, but if I can wait in the queue if you prefer.
No, you go ahead. Continue your discussion.
I'm curious on how, I think of examples where Sunrise House, for example, it was council approved to provide services and an amount of cash initially. Then we gave land, and I don't see, with the comment that $40,000 maximum to an organization, where does a unique situation like that fit going forward?
Through the chair. Oh.
Go ahead, CAO.
This policy is specific to the funding allocated. It doesn't preclude council from passing any other motion to allocate additional funding to a specific project outside this limit.
Okay, thank you. And then the last item, if I can, Councillor O'Toole, is in regards to, let me get to the document, item, in the item 3.8 and 3.9, I think that there is value in a portion being allocated for promotional items at events. My comments are that it's quite particular in gift baskets. I know from having volunteered on many fundraising events over the years that not necessarily baskets are the thing that are going to help an organization raise money in a silent auction type event. And so I'm just looking for some wording changes, and I can put it into a motion. But I believe that it should be in 3.8 that these items will be used for the promotion of the city at events, including gift baskets for the accommodation of community requests. 3.9, my suggestion would be, and I can put it to motion, that the discretion of these promotional gifts, not gift baskets, promotional gifts to nonprofit organizations of their choice each year. So council would still have an opportunity, each councillor would have an opportunity to give 2 promotional gifts. And the reason in particular I don't want it to be gift baskets, because if there was a family-focused event and a councillor chose to give away a month of access to the Eastlink Centre, that's not a gift basket. That's a promotional item that is suited to the event, and each event, unique in its sort of audience, may have varying needs and gifts depending on their inventory of silent auction items. So I don't like the word gift basket tying in us to something specific that is traditional gift basket. And so I just think promotional gifts make sense, that including gift baskets, but sometimes it may be a picture of some swans. Sometimes it might be something specific for a service that we offer. And so I don't want to be limited in what the expectations are. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Through the chair, that's a good suggestion. We can work on that wording. The one comment I would make is referencing should a council choose. Part of this policy is to create a standardization in line with our branding and products that we have available. So it still would be within the inventory that we have. It wouldn't be an open choice, but I appreciate that it wouldn't necessarily be a gift basket. So some wording on that would be accepted.
Okay. Councillor Bosch, looks like you got some work to do here.
Yeah, no, I'm not done yet. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My question is, well, first of all, I added up to 125,000. Is there 5,000 somewhere else that I'm missing?
Yes, it's in the Public Relations Fund.
Where's, oh, and that's not part of the any of these motions?
Second.
It's 100,000 transfer, a $5,000 transfer, and $25,000 already in the fund for 130,000.
I see 100, 5,000, 10,000, 7,000, 3,000.
Yeah, you have to read halfway down the report to find the
Okay.
25,000.
Should it be in this?
Well, it's not being transferred from anywhere, so it is already there.
So it's at 130. Okay. My second comment is the gift in kind part. I do struggle with that, particularly for organizations such as street performers, let's say. They get assistance from the city for bringing sandbags so that they can put their tents up. They get assistance for the flagging that gets put on the street, or the street closure part of it, putting up barricades, taking them away, things like that. So even garbage cleanup through between days. So do they have to specifically ask up and above for those services as a gift in kind, or attach a dollar value to it when they only get, $14,000?
Sure, I'll take that one. Thank you. So what we could have them do is just submit it as part of their festival funding application. So the cash amount plus the gift in kind that they're requesting, and it would come through.
So they have to label each thing in the future, just like any other organization. So Stampede, for instance. So the point of asking staff to put barricades for a parade, or the Stampede parade, for instance, that has to be now in the application.
Yeah, and the other part of it is we have to track gift in kind now as well, because there were some changes with CRA. So any gift in kind that's going to organizations has to be tracked. So it would also help us better track that.
So then would that still come out of this 130, the gift in kind portion, or where does the gift in kind come out of then?
Thank you for that. So it would come out of department's operational budget. So the request would go to the department that it impacts, and then they would determine the level of support they can provide.
Okay. And I'll just, even for, when there's a food truck that needs to park somewhere, there's somebody that barricades that off.
And that would be part of the permit fee that they pay.
Yep. Chief Waitway?
No, just to clarify on the gift in kind is just a financial representation of what we're giving. So we would go back to operations, make sure obviously it's not impacting what we're supposed to be doing as an organization before approving. But at the end of the day, it has no cash impact on the organization.
Okay. I guess just people will have to get used to making sure everything is detailed in every application. All right, I can look after business. Is it Dylan?
Councillor Bressie, do you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you. Just something that might merit a little bit of conversation is this idea of each councillor being able to allocate to gift baskets or easily pass or whatever it becomes. First of all, I absolutely love the idea. I think sometimes we go to an event as a councillor and every other major organization there is contributing something, and it really makes the city look goofy when we're the only major organization not contributing something. So I think that is a really good process to introduce. At the same time, I think we should have a bit of conversation, doesn't have to be today, but at some point, about how do those baskets get credited? On how does the organization
or did we lose you?
Give it to them on one hand to the vast majority or city council. Sorry, are you not hearing me?
No.
So I'll bring it up at council. I'll bring it up at council, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, school must be in or something. Thank you. All right. Thank you for your comments. And I just want to refer to what City Manager Burke said. We have some guidance there, but ultimately council can make some changes if council desires. Correct? In funding or so long-term support has been to Bear Creek Folk Festival. We've donated, supported the Stampede. We've done other things. Example, the downtown when we do the street performers. So we have supported in the past, and maybe the amount that we're going to give them this year or next year or whenever they apply won't be enough, but we can change that. Is that true?
Yes, the intent of the policy was allocate just this specific funding, and as the policy states, funding over 5,000 would come to council for approval, and you'd have that decision point. It didn't, though, preclude one-off requests. I'd say that those are unlikely, but it would be possible for council to approve other funding for projects that were outside the scope of the funding available here.
Fair enough. Thank you very much for that. Okay.
All right.
You want to take a drink of water first?
No, I'm good. Thank you. I move committee recommend council, number 1, approve policy 129, the corporate sponsorship. Number 2, rescind policy 112, corporate sponsorship. 3, rescind policy 111, souvenirs. 4, consolidate the individual projects, scholarship, major projects, arts and culture grant programs into the community microgrant program. And 5, transfer existing fund allocations retroactive to January 1st, 2024 as follows. A, 100,000 from large-scale tourism events budget to council's public relations budget. B, 5,000 from the corporate sponsorship fund to council's public relations budget. C, 10,000 from the corporate sponsorship fund to the community microgrant budget. D, 7,000 from the arts and culture individual projects and scholarship fund to the community microgrant budget. And finally, E, 3,000 from the major project funding to the community microgrant budget.
Okay, that motion is in order. I'll call for the vote.
Oh.
Sorry, I was in the queue for discussion and debate on the motion.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thanks, Chair O'Toole. I had lost strong signal when CAO Burke was speaking in regards to his comments on my request for cleaning up some of the language. Do you want a motion for that, or is that going to come in the report that's presented at council?
That's editorial. We can accommodate that in the report that'll come forward to council. So
thank you.
Don't need a motion.
Notes have been taken and we're good. So at this point, you heard the motion, and I will call for the vote.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
Right. And that passes unanimously. All right. Thank you very much for the presentation. And we will move on to the outstanding items list.
Thank you, Chair. So we only have one item on the outstanding items list, and it's the alternate committee schedule, which was to bring back a report to committee, which we have done today. So a recommendation would be to have this one now removed from the outstanding items list.
Well, that's pretty cool. Mayor's out of town, and the two councillors that are really active have cleaned up the line. So with that, looking for a motion to...
Sure. I move committee receive the January 23rd outstanding items list as amended for information.
All right. Call for the vote.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
We could barely hear you, but we heard you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It carries 3-0. And with that, The Strategy and Communication Services Committee is finished for the day, and thank you very much for watching online. Take care. Thanks to the staff.